Hey guys, before we get into it, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like my content, click the bell here. Hit all. This way you can get an alert every time I post a video, which is usually 6 p.m. EST every day. Also guys, please like and share, and keep in mind that this is a comprehensive video about universal basic income. Love you guys. So let's get into this video. So I know a lot of people, we've seen this video already. It is the one right here, 2.2 million views, where this trans woman basically talks about a bunch of... Let's just watch the video. What are we talking about? Let's just watch the video, okay?
I have a question. Just real quick.
Would you
Watch the video.
ever date a trans woman?
Please don't scroll away. I have a question.
Now, just for context, this comes after the massive super straight movement on TikTok, a meme movement of mostly young men who are like, "Oh, I would only date like a woman that was born a woman." Like, so a cisgendered woman is what they're saying. The only person that they would date. It's reactionary to a bunch of performative activists on TikTok. I think it's been rather toxic for trans people in general because it just increases the the hatred towards them. However, this person I don't think does a very good representation of the trans community, and you'll see why as we get into it.
Just real quick. I am Franka. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Berlin, and I am a transgender woman. And I transitioned medically to a point where you could not tell me apart from a cisgender woman.
Now listen, right off the bat, I just want you guys to know, I clocked her immediately, right? She's still attractive. I could see why people couldn't tell that she was trans, but I'm just saying that, you can clock her. And it's a woman. It's a trans women are women, right? But like there's obviously trans women are women, but trans women are different from cis women. I don't think that's an unreasonable statement to make. I think that statement alone is very reasonable, and people who don't agree with it, like we're just not being accurate. Like we understand that. There, like when we as a society have decided like have made room to call trans women, which I think we should. We've shifted a little bit what it means to be a woman, right? Which I again 100% support. I know a lot of you guys don't. I'm telling you, I disagree with you. Trans women are women. But there is a difference. And everybody acknowledges that. Even people who pretend to be woke and say they don't. They acknowledge that. It's just that the biological aspect doesn't matter as much to them. Right? To me, it doesn't matter. Somebody's biology doesn't matter nearly as much to me as it does for a lot of you. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that it doesn't matter as much to me. That's what we're having a discussion about, though. Like, people are pretending to say that there's no difference, but they know that there's a difference. It's the weight they put into that difference. Right?
Very, let's say, active. So when I meet new people and we do the thing, I usually don't tell them beforehand.
And that's the problem, is that she doesn't tell them, okay? Which is like really shitty. It's shitty. You should tell somebody that you're trans before you sleep with them or engage with them in like any physical or even romantic relationship. Like in my opinion, before you do anything, like listen, if you're a trans woman and you go on a date with a guy, I don't think that you have to tell them that you're trans right away. You can get a free meal out of it first. I'm totally fine with it, right? That's not a big deal. But like before you kiss them or like give any like physical interaction or let the relationship go on too long, you should tell them. You should probably tell them after the first date. I mean, honestly.
And by the way, I'm bisexual, so yeah, I do have intercourse with straight men.
And just for context, this is an issue. Like cis men and women both have an issue with sleeping with trans women, but this is a much more prevalent issue for straight men, cisgendered men. Men tend to have more of an issue with this than women do. So
I know many trans women that do this the same way, and I do this for my own safety.
And I'm telling you right there, this safety argument is a dishonest argument, and I'm going to tell you why. Right? Because like, okay, 100% trans women have a higher risk of violence, like a higher chance of like violence being perpetuated or committed onto them if something happens, if they come out as trans. I do understand that. The thing is, though, is that you're going to have a higher chance of violence being committed onto you after somebody finds out you're trans than you are telling them beforehand. And this is what it comes down to, right? So, like, we have Tinder now. So if you put in your Tinder bio, "Oh, I'm trans," you know what's going to happen? A lot of people are just not going to interact with you. And that's where it comes into. So this woman is very sexually active and wants to have sex with straight men. Problem is that they're not attracted to her generally. So she simply doesn't tell them that she's trans, knowing that they would be violent onto her if they found out. That's the problem. It's not that, like, violence is absolutely a problem. I do understand it. But you're going to have a higher chance of, like, being assaulted if you don't tell somebody. But you want to fuck. And so you're so desperate to fuck that you're not telling people that you're trans. Right? And, like, that's really what it comes down to. And, like, we're trying to make it, like, honestly. So, now here's the thing. I do think that, like, as a society, we need to have a conversation about how to allow trans women to come out more comfortably and make more safe spaces for trans women to express themselves and say that they're trans. But at the end of the day, we all do internet dating now. So put it in your bio that you're trans. Again, the reason that you're not doing that is because you know if you did, people wouldn't want to fuck you. And so, like, you're having sex with men who wouldn't want to have sex with you if they knew that you were trans, and which is a consent problem. Honestly, we're having a lot of conversations about consent lately, and all of a sudden, when it comes to straight men, we don't care, right? And here's the thing: it's not sexual assault to not tell somebody that you're trans. I know a lot of you guys want me to be like, oh, it's not rape, it's not sexual assault. You're diminishing, like, true victims, right? But it is a violation. You were still violated to some extent. And, like, different people have different mental perceptions of that violation. At the end of the day, it's still wrong. It's still wrong. It's a violation, right? I would equate it to somebody who's, like, feeding somebody who's vegan meat without them knowing. Like, that's violating. That's violating to, like, them and their personal beliefs, right? It's wrong. And you should be giving that person full disclosure before you give consent. It's shitty. Honestly.
Actually, you might have slept with a trans woman as well.
Now, I want you guys to pay attention. She said, and actually, you might have slept with a trans woman as well.
So here's my question. How exactly does that work with your sexuality? If you have a plausible answer.
I want you guys to understand, because none of you caught it, because sounds nice. She's not asking you why you would or wouldn't sleep with a trans woman. The scenario she proposed is you probably slept with a trans woman. How does that make you feel? She's trying to be antagonistic. She's trying to antagonize people with this take. She's like, you probably slept with a trans woman. How does that work with your concept? And that concept is the concept of trans people. So she's saying is like, oh, you don't like sleeping with trans women? How does it make you feel that you probably did? She's trying to be antagonistic. She's trying to be like a shitty person here. She's trying to antagonize people who don't want to sleep with trans women, right? And that's kind of shitty. And then what's really shitty, right?
Duets are open. Comments are open. Just how?
And then afterwards, right? So then after that happened, here is her
transition medically.
Here's the duet she did with somebody where she's crying and she was like, I didn't think I was gonna get this much hate. You asked people to give you hate. You literally asked for it. You didn't say, like, why don't you see me as a woman? You said, how does it work for your mental perception of trans people that you might have fucked a trans person? Like, yes, some people are very uncomfortable. And you can make an argument. Maybe it is homophobia. I don't know. I wouldn't say so. I think that it's just a preference. I think that not sleeping with trans people is a preference. The reason I said homophobia is because a lot of men may see trans women as men to some extent. And so maybe there's internalized homophobia. Maybe there is transphobia. I think it's a preference. I think that as long as you advocate for trans people to have rights, equal rights, then you're not transphobic. You don't have to sleep with a trans person, right? But she's literally being antagonistic, right? And she's, like, actively, like, antagonizing people over, like, with not giving them the full scenario before sleeping with them. And then she gets upset that she gets shit.
To a point where you could not tell me apart from.
And she's crying. She's like, my last few days have been horrifying. And it's like, you literally antagonistically asked people to be a dick to you.
A cisgender woman. When I meet new people
and now you're upset because of the internet backlash. That's what happens. That's when you act like an antagonistic asshole, you get a lot of hatred. And like the people, somebody's like, what are the comments saying? They're all in support of her. Right? But I do want to watch this video here on the right side.
To a point
This girl's video here. Let's watch this. I want to watch it.
where you could
Because
not
this was the greatest offender video.
tell me
Anyway.
apart from a cisgender woman. When I meet new people and we do the thing, I usually don't tell them before.
Guess who found that video? Americans, more specifically cisgender men. And they had
Cis men, terrible people. You're all shit if you're a cis man.
so much to say, of course. They had to ruin it for the world.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but okay.
This lovely girl lives in Berlin, Germany.
So I just want you guys to understand that this person is sitting here and it's like, oh, it's American cis men. Americans, you ruined it for the rest of the world. First and foremost, try being a cis person outside of the first world Western countries. Try being a trans person outside of outside of a Western country. If you think that it's bad to be trans in America, you are entitled. I'm not saying that we shouldn't progress. We have plenty of progress to make when it comes to trans rights. But like, we ruined it for the rest of the world? Go to Iraq. Go anywhere else. Go anywhere. We ruined it for the rest of the world. You're a fucking idiot. Like, honestly. Also, this idea that like we only have these issues in America is crazy too, because in Germany, like, you realize this person in her original video here, she made a reference to violence. So she's like, oh, I don't tell people that I'm trans because I might get violence against me, and I live in Germany. That means that if you feel that you're going to be assaulted in Germany, then that means that you have the same issues in Germany than America. So like, what the gaslighting is incredible. I mean, give me a break.
I live in
I mean, give me a fucking break, am I right? Anyway.
Canada, and gender reaffirming surgeries, medical transitions have been legal here and covered by the government since forever, 20 years or more.
That's great. I support that 100%. I've been saying this for a long time. I think that we should make it so that trans people should have their surgeries and their hormones covered. As long as, obviously, like, a therapist would have to get, like, whatever. But you understand, like, they should be covered 100%. I've been saying that for fucking ever. I agree with that. But that doesn't change. That doesn't change anything. That doesn't change anything. Thank you so much, Roxanne, for the gift of subs. I appreciate that so much. But that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything socially about it. Like, people still don't have to sleep with trans women just because, like, you cover their medical expenses by law.
I don't know. I know at least 20 people from my high school who transitioned medically, and literally you can tell.
First of all, that's great. I think that's fantastic. Okay. Secondly, you probably could tell. Okay. Not trying to be rude. Okay. Probably could tell. But again, that's great. That doesn't change. That doesn't mean that I have to fuck a trans person. Oh, I would. I don't give a fuck. But do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Doesn't mean that somebody is required to have sex with a trans person.
Trust me, I know. And yeah, girls show each other their woo-has.
Okay.
Canada had this conversation 20 years ago, and of course men said it's assault by deception.
And again, I don't think it's sexual. I made this very clear. I don't think it's sexual assault at all. But it's wrong. It's still a violation, right? You're still violating somebody by not telling. Again, it's not sexual assault. That you're diminishing real survivors when you say that, right? It is very much like a mental fragility thing. But like, people are entitled to their mental fragility. Right? It's a violation when you don't tell people. Okay? And like this, you're a poopy head.
You know what our government said? Once they're legally transitioned, they are women.
That's okay. That's, again, doesn't support anything at all. Like, it's great. That's a great thing. Again, I'm for it. But that doesn't mean that people have to sleep with trans women.
So there's no deception there.
Well, there is 100% deception. This is the annoying part, is that people are so black and white about this. And it's like, there's a middle ground. Like, we can understand it's not sexual assault while also understanding that you're violating somebody by not telling them.
What a victory. Trans woman.
Oh yeah, so this person's just an idiot. Her point doesn't even make sense. Her point's terrible. It's dog shit. Okay? Absolutely dog shit. So, ending this off, here's what I want to say to you guys. Ending this off, here's what I want to say. Okay, this is what I want. I hope that you guys can, like, this is like my message to you guys. Okay, I believe trans women are women. Okay, trans men are men. Absolutely. However, there is an understandable difference between trans women and cis women and trans men and cis men. Okay. Now, how much that difference matters is up to everybody's individual perception. From a societal, governmental perspective, I genuinely believe that that it's nobody's business, of your biology is nobody's business until it comes to a relationship, sports, or a doctor. Because obviously you need to tell your doctor so that they can give you the proper medical treatment. That's it. Outside of that, I don't give a fuck. Trans people, use whatever bathroom you want. I don't give a shit about any of that. But like I said, there is a difference, and that difference matters to different people. Some people, like me, don't care. People like you guys may care. Now, you should be respectful. You should advocate for trans rights. I would urge you to advocate for trans rights. I would urge you to understand that trans women are women. And I would urge you to fight for trans people having 100% medical rights, having everything covered if they're trans, right? This means therapy, hormones, any transition to whichever extent that they need to transition, right? I would urge you to that. But also, while it's not sexual assault to sleep with for a trans person not to give out their identity, it is still a violation, and it's still wrong, and it is still removing consent from somebody. Okay? You're not giving somebody like the full picture when it comes to like actually being able to consent to you. And furthermore, like we had said earlier, you need to understand that there is an increased amount of violence towards trans people, and we do need to create an environment for trans people to feel more comfortable coming out as trans. But the likeliness that you're going to be assaulted is greatly increased after you sleep with somebody and then you don't tell them. Okay, what it really comes down to is, while there absolutely is a factor of assault before the sexual intercourse, a lot of trans women have problems and have trouble finding cis men, straight men, that want to sleep with them. So they lie. They lie. And that person, if they do commit like some kind of assault, should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But I'm not like, you need to be upfront, and you're putting yourself in a situation because you don't want to tell somebody because they know they wouldn't interact with you. And like, there's a lot of nuance here, and people are gonna be like, oh, you're victim blaming. I'm not. I think that anybody that assaults a trans person, even if they were lied to about sleeping to a trans person, should absolutely go to jail and be prosecuted full extent of the law. But again, you can't put yourself in that situation. And the reason you do that is because you know it's going to exempt a lot of straight men. Don't want to sleep with trans women. A lot of straight men still perceive trans women as men to an extent. And is it right or wrong? Well, we as a society understand trans women are, to an extent, still men, which is why we have the label trans. It's how much that matters. It matters absolutely not at all to me. That's why trans women are women.